Oh my God. The United States just went through an election, and there are some people really happy with the result of that election, and there's some people who aren't. And so outsourcing your authority to somebody who runs your country or to a teacher that tells you how you should do your life or to a doctor who says you need this vaccine, you need this medical blah, and just following blindly is not, you're not an awake human being. Sorry, guys, you just aren't. Um, and it's important to be an awake human being, to be consciously aware, because each and every person has a soul, and we come here to grow.
Susan, thank you so much for joining us. You are an intuitive healer. Um, I don't know too much about you, so I'm just going to pick your brain. I know you are a podcaster, you're an author, you've done quite a few interviews with some well-known people. So if you could just give us a little bit of background about what got you into becoming an intuitive healer.
Divorce. Seriously, I had been married for 28 years, didn't know what I didn't know, which was I was married to a narcissist, pretty severe. And so as I was going through divorce and coming out of it, a lot of my clairs started opening up because they had been I had been suppressed, so I kept suppressing, because how could I trust myself in that kind of a narcissistic relationship, because I was constantly gaslit, constantly told I couldn't be that, do that. Oh, I'm the one that's lying, and which is crazy making. It's just all crazy making. So as I was going through all this, I began to of course, because I teach spiritual principles. So and I only teach what I know, right? I don't make up stuff. Sorry, I was going to use a bad word. I don't make up stuff and then say, oh, this is what you need to know. If it works for me, then I'm going to share it with people. So I doubled down on my spiritual practice during that horrific experience of divorce. And I began to see where I had been tethered, where I had been constrained energetically. All of it was energy stuff, and that's why I do energy work now. And I find out during this time it's really comes easy for me. So it was probably all there when I was a small child, but my family of origin, again, there was suppression, there was gaslighting, my mom, and I didn't know what I didn't know. So that's how I discovered it. And then I've just been really kind of having fun exploring. Oh, what can I do? Oh, let's rub our hands together. Oh, I feel that, and you can feel, I'm going to do, is it okay if I give everybody a gift right now?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so if you're listening or watching on YouTube, great. But if you're listening, what I'm going to do is we're going to rub our hands together and create that friction. Natasha, why don't you do this with me? Because now you're going to be feeling your hands getting hot, and now just pull them apart just like an inch or two. Can you feel that energy? There's a pulsing in between there. So yes, there's energy. So then what I do this for all my students in classes now, it's really remarkable. So what we're going to do with this energy we've created between our hands is we're going to give ourselves an energy bath. So what you're going to do is you're going to just put your hands above your head. Don't touch your head. Just pull your hands above your head, and you're going to just pull the energy with the hands all the way down your body. And the intention is to pull anything that is unlike love, anything that's stuck, that's blocking you, anything that is keeping you sad or angry. Just use the energy of your hands, and we're going to just move it down the top of our head, not touching, down through our neck, our shoulders, and just begin to notice how your hands feel, and notice if you're feeling lighter. You're going to pull it off of your shoulders and your chest and your back. Yes, you see, and then pulling it down through the gut, the abdomen, the back, again, down your hips, your thighs, your knees, your shins, your calves, ankles. And then what you're going to do is you're going to lay your hands or focus them as flat as you can. You don't have to touch the ground, but focus it on the ground. And we're going to send all that energy we just pulled up down into the earth. So just send it down. And then when you're done, just wipe your hands off because you don't want any sticky, yucky, nothing. So Natasha, how'd that feel for you?
Sometimes we accumulate residue we forget about. So that was good.
Yeah, it opens me. All my circuitry is more tuned up and turned on now. And so that's something that you can do anytime. If you're going into a business meeting and you're not sure, you can do that. Just clear your energy, that kind of thing. So I learned this while I was going through, this trauma, one of the trauma points of my life, if you will. And that's kind of how that intuitiveness, I began to listen to my inner wisdom, my intuition. People call it your gut. Yes, your gut actually has a brain, just like your head has a brain, and your heart has a brain, just like your head has a brain. But for me, the intuitive wisdom is a spiritually connected wisdom, right? Which is true for everyone, every single person on the planet. Doesn't matter where you go to church or temple, doesn't matter what you do for a living, doesn't matter the color of your skin. We are all connected to this divine source energy that implants when we come in to whatever lifetime, a divine spark I see it within my heart. And that spark is the thing that opens my heart to more love. And when I focus on more love within my heart, and I focus on being that light, that divine light, my life kind of gets better, or it just flows, and when my heart is shut down, I recognize that I have blocked or stopped or narrowed that flow of divine love that comes from this amazing, vast, people call it the universe, people call it God, Allah. It's even bigger than any of those names, this incredible oneness that we all live in. We all live in it. And then we get to come to planet Earth with a soul mission. And that soul mission is about learning how to grow our soul more. Oh, yay. Yippee-doo. That's wonderful. So that's part of those are the nuts and bolts a little bit of kind of what I do. But I am always learning something else. I do a lot of meditation. Meditation to me is the conduit to source, to spirit. I also do a lot of journaling. So through my journaling, I learned, I started when I was 16, and the boy didn't call me. I'm so sad. That's not the journaling that you do as an adult, especially if you want spiritual connection or truth to flow through you, to you and through you. So my journaling evolved to, especially during divorce, getting all the crap out of my head. He done me wrong, blah, 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 blah. And then I could close the book and get up and on with my life. So, but I'm also really big on affirmations, creating affirmations that I have learned how to download into my heart, into that wisdom center in the heart, not the head. And a lot of people hear affirmations, oh, they don't work for me. But it's because you're trying to get it to change something in your head. The head that has the human brain is not the place where you change your experience. You have to change it from the wisdom of your heart, because the head is also the housing of the ego, who wants to control everything, wants to make it nice with a pretty pink bow or blue or whatever color you like. And it doesn't allow for expansion. It doesn't necessarily allow for soul growth, because as human beings, we really want to feel safe and secure, which is what's happening around globally right now. Is there is not a lot of safety or security in so many countries. It's fascinating. And so because we want to feel safe and secure, we think we have to figure out a plan. We have to have a go box. We have to have how am I going to take care of my family or put food on the table? And all that thinking then keeps you very small. It gets some of the job done, right? You get to pay your bills, but are you having a happy life? That kind of stuff. And so dropping from your head to your heart and allowing the heart, the wisdom of the heart, to be that conduit for intuitive knowing, for messages that come in, for downloads. Last 2 years plus, we have all been having huge downloads. And if you haven't really felt what a download is, I really suggest you take time daily to just sit for 5 minutes and quiet yourself and open your heart and just allow whatever it is you need to feel or hear to come in or see. Because the downloads are what's been shifting all of us into a higher frequency, a higher vibration of conscious awareness. And we really need that now with what we're witnessing, with all the chaos, destruction, death, blah, 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 happening. We really need to have a connection to a higher source, not the outer authority, not oh my God, the United States just went through an election, and there are some people really happy with the result of that election, and there's some people who aren't. And so outsourcing your authority to somebody who runs your country, or to a teacher that tells you how you should do your life, or to a doctor who says you need this vaccine, you need this medical blah, and just following blindly you're not an awake human being. Sorry, guys, you just aren't. And it's important to be an awake human being, to be consciously aware, because each and every person has a soul, and we come here to grow and evolve. And that's the only reason why people come to planet Earth. That's the only reason why there's humanity, because we all agreed that we're going to be here to grow and learn. Now, when you look outside and see all the garbage, or read the news, or don't read the news, don't watch the news, don't do any of that. It just destroys it's soul crushing. But when you look outside and see that, it's like, I didn't choose this. Why would I choose that? Why would I choose to be in a war-torn area, or, a refugee, or, whatever, where you're being persecuted or hunted, whatever. But there is this huge opportunity now for that kind of soul growth if we pay attention. And it can be much easier than what we imagine, right? Because we always make up scary stories. I do, at least. I make up very scary stories. But if you can journal that out, begin to develop affirmations that you can say to yourself to change that scary scenario, to flip it into something else. Like I've got an affirmation staring at me right now. It says, I deserve to be happy and celebrated. I am grateful for my life. I deserve to be happy. And that's the actual spiritual truth. We all deserve to be happy, healthy, harmonious, peaceful. It's actually what we came in with. It's what's encoded in our system beyond the DNA. And because of life experience, that we said, yeah, sure, I'll go incarnate with those parents, or that brother or sister or aunt, or, Abraham Hicks calls it. begins to take away that memory, or create the friction where we kind of forget that we're here to learn, and we go down into a lower vibration of just simply trying to survive. And why we're really here, guys, is to raise up to a higher vibration, a high frequency of love, because the entire earth is moving from 3D into 5D, and it's happening more rapidly than any of us could imagine. And so if things feel uncomfortable for you, I hate to say this, but that's a good thing. That's a good thing, because it means that your soul is recognizing that these are opportunities for expansion and growth, and to move into your full potential, to realize it. And we're all conduits for spirit, everybody. But it takes a person who is consciously aware and willing to grow, to recognize that you're a conduit. And there's a lot of people that don't want to, I have those days. I'm like, really? I don't want to be that person. I don't want to love that person over there that I really don't like. All right, I'll do it. Fine, I'll do it. And then my life gets better because I'm focusing on love instead of the resistance to whatever the contrast is. Wow, I just babbled a lot, Natasha.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Well, people need to hear it, so it's great. And for those that are still wondering why they're here, it's just a reminder.
Yeah.
Just going back to your relationship, because I've been thinking that, a narcissist is your greatest teacher. But there's so many people that are coming out of these kind of abusive relationships, and one of the biggest things I hear is that they don't trust anybody anymore, and particularly themselves. So they don't trust their own choices because they thought this person was great and they obviously thought wrong. However, is that not the gift? Because if you learn not to just blindly trust anybody, you won't get caught up into blindly trusting, as you say, the government, the doctor, the priest, or whoever is trying to tell you how life should be lived. So it forces you to listen to your inner voice and not what other people say, no matter how charming they look, no matter how much they promise. And like you said, with your election, you've got two sides, and either way, half the country is mourning and the other half is celebrating, but we don't know where it's going to go. And I don't want to talk about politics, but that's an example. That's a really good example.
It is an example because we don't know where it's going to go. And that's just the way life is anyway, right? We human beings want to make it fit a certain pattern so they can feel safe. But that doesn't, the being in the unknown is so uncomfortable for people. And the more we can embrace the unknown and see it as like you said, a gift. This is for me. This thing I don't understand. I don't know yet. And it feels like I'm just walking off a cliff into space, that big abyss, crazy making thing that people are worried about. That is the potential. So really trusting the unknown, learning how to trust. I have trust issues, Natasha. I still do. I am much better, but it's taken me several years to rebuild some of my trust, because it was a long-term narcissistic experience. So I do trust myself a lot more. And that's the other thing. You got to start with yourself. Some people, when they get divorced, they hop right into another relationship, but they haven't taken time to heal or to get to know themselves. And so again, that's another form of outsourcing. Oh, well, if I fall in love with this person, then they're going to make me feel good about myself. No, you got to feel good about yourself first. You have to learn how to empower yourself, to respect yourself, to love yourself. And that was something I didn't have. And I realized when I was going through divorce, I didn't love myself. I didn't respect myself. I didn't see anywhere I was going, even though I was doing all sorts of teaching spiritual classes. I had a radio show at the time. All these things that I thought that's who I am. It took more to learn to trust those parts of myself that I didn't know, and that's part of the unknown. I see the unknown now as that infinite, all-knowing oneness of everything, and it's so vast that it's unknown. You cannot put a name on it. You can't put a point on it and say, oh, that's what it is, because it's so huge. So trusting yourself is a skill for people that have been traumatized, and people that have been involved in narcissistic relationships are definitely traumatized. There's a PTSD trigger that hits me sometimes, and I'm with I have a beautiful relationship now. And every once in a while that trigger will hit and I'm in a panic, and my spouse looks at me and he's like, you're okay. You're okay. And I'm like, I don't know. 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 So, does that go away? It's just about becoming aware of when those triggers get pushed, and then, and like you said, learning to trust. It's a challenge, and if you've been in a traumatic relationship, there's people that have said to me, well, can you forgive him? So I got to tell you, I had that long pause because yes, there are components I have forgiven, but forgiving myself first, right? Because part of the lack of trust of yourself is because you made that choice and then you were betrayed multiple times and lied to. And so then it's about forgiving yourself for making that choice and not the person out there. Do you see? Eventually you'll find space to forgive the person out there, but it can't happen automatically. And people that say, well, can't you just forgive him? They've never been traumatized. They've never been traumatized because it's a hard ask to forgive that.
Well, the thing is, it's done so subtly and so consistently. It's like Chinese torture. It's
Yep.
just that drop of water every day.
Yep.
And it won't be an outright dismissal of you. It'll be a comment here, an insult there, something taken up the wrong way where you might have said something and they completely blew it out of proportion, turned it on you. And it's those things. Sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's very bad. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes it's not so bad.
Yeah.
So it's difficult because it's a roller coaster.
It's a roller coaster. I have, since my counseling practice shifted when I, of course, went through divorce, because all of a sudden I could see more than I had before of what the relationship was, why. And so women, I mostly work with women, were attracted to working with me because they were going through divorce. And I would say 85 to 90% of my clients at the time were victims of narcissistic relationships. And I really had to, at one point I had to tell myself, Susan, are you projecting what you experienced onto this client? Don't do that. But then I would listen, and I'm like, I think this is what's been going on. And when you're a victim of a narcissistic relationship, you don't know. I mean, I can't even tell you how many people, when I say, I want you to look up narcissism in relationship and see if anything resonates. Oh, he's not a narcissist, well, yeah, he's got a little bit of narcissistic tendencies, but don't we all? I'm like, no, no, because it isn't about the people want to put a short little Band-Aid on it instead of dealing with the horribleness. Because you have to dig in to your experience so that you can heal from the inside out. And that means you've got to face what you said yes to, and you've got to face the betrayal. And there was one day I was dealing with divorce papers, blah, 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 all over my kitchen. And I was just standing there, and all of a sudden I was overwhelmed with this feeling of shame. I was like, what is that from? I don't feel like I'm a shameful person, And so immediately, it was so horrible, this feeling, that I immediately sat down and began to go within and meditate. And I saw that this shame was just like, I saw myself in a room, and it was all over me, like that sticky goo stuff, and it was on the walls, and it was dripping. And I was like, that's how thick and unacknowledged that shame was. So during that meditation, I just envisioned the walls getting clean and that goo coming off of me, and just, going away until I was in a pristine room with a pristine mind and heart. And so when that shame comes up, or guilt or fear even, that's what I do. I just sit down and face it, and then go, okay, now we can change it. I recognize that you're here. Brene Brown talks about that. You've got to speak to shame. You've got to name it, and you've got to say, this is, you don't have to tell a bunch of people, but at least tell yourself, yeah, that was me. I'm there. I'm stuck in that muck. So, yeah. Why am I talking about that, Natasha? I just went, beep.
It's okay. I think a lot of people that stay in those relationships, their biggest feelings are guilt and shame.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the polar opposites. You'll find each other, because a person who is narcissistic has no guilt, has no remorse, never says sorry, it's never their fault, will blame everyone else. And the person on the other spectrum always feels like it's their responsibility, it's their fault. But I think the biggest thing is that it's almost like being trapped, like a deer in a trap.
Yeah.
How can you be responsible for being naive? You were ignorant or innocent, captured. Now you're aware. You need to be aware that there are people that don't have your best interests at heart. And I think that's the thing, is a lot of people think they did something. Somehow it's their fault. They attracted it. I actually don't think you attracted those people. I think you're attracted to them. It's like a bee to nectar, or to, it's
right.
They've got this like charm and this magnificent way, and the way they love bomb you, it's better than any normal person would ever do. And so you're living in this fantasy world of, I'm going to be loved unconditionally, and I'm going to be treated like this, amazing person. And that is what empaths are attracted to.
Yes, they do tend to target empathic people, intuitive people, because part of what they do is they recognize the light. They're very dark. They're very dark within. There's some of these souls. Okay, we can have that conversation. Some of these souls come in and they're so dark that there isn't an opportunity for them to grow, right? They don't want to. And they see people that are that bright, shiny light, that are not pristine, but are clear, are clean. I am big on integrity, and he saw that. So narcissists like to siphon your energy. That's why I had you do that energy bath in the beginning. You guys do that, and you'll recognize where you've got energetic cords attached to you from a relationship, or even somebody you don't know, and you can clear that. But so they siphon your energy, and when you change, they don't like it, and that's where the shaming, blaming, yelling, harming. I don't know that they beat. I didn't get a physical beating, but there was a mental and emotional suppression. And then he was siphoning off my energy, and he began to talk spiritual principle like he studied it. He hadn't studied anything. He was just listening to me. I'm like, and all of a sudden he's like ooh, we would go to parties and they would go, oh, you're so wonderful. And I'm like, how? So,
My ex did exactly the same.
oh my gosh, it's
I
horrible,
actually
isn't
think
it?
they went to the same school. They all go to AI school. It's like if you had to train a robot, for example, you get these robots that take orders at restaurants, that's what almost like they are. It's like, this is the menu, this is what you need to learn. And whoever they're with, they accumulate the knowledge and add that to their menu of offerings.
Right. So here's the other thing, because I mentioned before we started this interview, I've interviewed people that did a lot of past life regression, talked about and near-death experiences, or have channeled people that have crossed over on the unseen side, and I always have to ask, because the understanding for most people that explore those avenues, I guess, is that we are always at choice, right? We always have choice. Every single soul has a choice. So you have a choice to become more light, more love, more joy, or you have a choice to become dark. And so I always ask these people, I was talking to a woman who wrote a book. She's a spiritual astrologer, Kate Rose, and she wrote a book about relationships based on a spiritual astrology. It's a really good book. She's a good interview. And I said, but why would I choose 28 years in a narcissistic relationship? And prior to that, my mother was narcissistic, not as to the depth and degree as my ex, and why would I choose that? And they're like, well, his soul possibly agreed to come and be that narcissist in your life so that you could learn more. I can't tell you how much that pisses me off. So going back to forgiveness, but so there is where they, like you said, you don't attract them. They are attracted to you. They are attracted to the light. But there's also this possibility that I look at, I delve into of, okay, so what have I actually learned? Because if this was a soul growth relationship, then what have I actually learned? And that's a hard one to face when you've been so traumatized, because how is that any good, right? Where was the person that was supposed to help me when I was in this horrible relationship? And Kate Rose wrote about it in her book, and her book is downstairs. I can't. Otherwise, I'll email you the book. But you guys, it's great because she breaks it down to 3. We all have 3 relationships. The first one is a relationship with somebody we're comfortable with, usually somebody we grew up with in high school. The next one is the relationship that causes the most growth. And there is an agreement when that relationship happens that you're both going to grow, or not. You don't have to. It's your choice. And then the third one is your spiritual relationship with a person. And fortunately, I made it through the darkness, the dark side. And now I'm in a beautiful relationship with someone who sees me, hears me, loves me, respects me, and we have fun. And the energy connection is awesome when you can get there, spiritually. So, yeah.
I think a lot of questions that I hear from people that are in these toxic relationships are, no one else will ever love me. And the fear, did you also, and that's why they stay.
Yeah.
Yes, they'll say it's security, it's I don't have the money. All of it is superseded by no one else will love me. So it's better the devil you know.
Yep.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because it means here's proof that yes, you can find somebody, but
Yes.
you do need to heal first.
Well, and that's part of why I think I was able to meet my current spouse because I had done healing during the divorce. I remember it's so amazing we're talking about divorce today. I remember I went while I was going through divorce. I all of a sudden there's all these divorced women I'm meeting. I'm like, wow, I didn't know there were so many. And so I remember going to a dinner party with everybody at the table was divorced, either 5 years, 20 years, 1 year, and almost every woman to a person was embittered, was so bitter. Now, I looked at all that and I went, I don't want to be a bitter old woman when I come out of this because I was in my middle age. And I don't want that. I want to come out and be happy. I want to be free. I want to experience freedom. And what does that look like for me? And I want to be joy filled. I want to be more love and not bitterness. Now, there are times where I am bitter because it was so bad. But that as soon as I start dipping into that, I'm like, nope, nope, nope. I refocus on I deserve to be happy. I love myself. I love myself more than I ever have in my life. I respect myself. I just shift as soon as I can feel that bitterness coming in, I just shift it because it doesn't do anybody any good to be bitter. And these poor women, oh my God, most of them did not have another relationship. Because they didn't trust their judgment. They didn't trust themselves. They didn't love themselves because that guy rejected me. My husband of all people rejected me. So again, who's going to want this when the person that you thought was your, oh my God, such a Disneyland world, your prince in shining armor, right? That's going to love you and take care of you and provide for you, rejects you multiple times because
Yeah.
they are liars and cheats all the time. So I actually have a client who started divorce and she's telling me experiences and I'm like, okay, so he's narcissistic. I have a great book for you to read. Oh, I don't think he's narcissistic. I don't, he just had an affair. So I had to, because I tell truth and yes, it's based on my truth. May not be your truth or her truth, but it ended up being her truth because I said that's not the first time he's had an affair. He's had multiple affairs because that's what they do.
Yeah.
Have you seen who they elected in the United States? Anyway.
Well, they need to have supply.
Oh yeah, that's great, Natasha. Yes. So they find another innocent person, another bright, shiny. I'll just go, get some energy off of them. And then I'll come home to mama, I'll come home and, she'll
So
feed me
they'll
the
have their
lights off.
primary supply and then
Yeah.
the rest is backup. So, okay. So all these ladies that got divorced, how would they find somebody that would love them? Like, surely they would need to know what a healthy relationship looks like, first of all, or what it could look like. Where would
Mm-hmm.
you suggest that they go? Find out.
Um, um, so it's such an individualistic, journey, and it is a journey to yourself, right? So I would recommend you start with yourself first because you cannot have a relationship with somebody outside of you unless you develop a strong, healthy relationship within yourself. And that means you've got to do the excavation. You've got to look under the rocks where somebody puts something that you don't want to look at. You just, it's so vital for your soul growth, but it's vital for your mental and emotional health because that's when you begin to see, oh, that wasn't me. Oh, that I wasn't responsible for that because there's just so many different emotions that that narcissists weigh you down with so that they can make sure that you feel horrible so they can look good. They've rescued you or whatever. So I wrote a book, Natasha, out of this experience called Live an Empowered Life, a 30-day journey book. And it's a workbook. But it's based on, it comes out of my getting out of divorce healthier and happier. And so there's a journaling component where you get all that crap out of your head. You just write it out. You don't have to edit. You don't think about it. And then there's affirmations I wrote while I was going through divorce that I worked intensely. Like, I trust the unknown. I relinquish the known. I live in infinite possibility. Things like that. But then there's also exercises to help empower you, because I break down the word empower. And then I've got, I connected it to my website because every couple of days I have the person working the book go to the website and there is a guided meditation to watch. Or I'm big on mind mapping. And so halfway through the book, there's a point where you're going to redefine what your life purpose is, because up until then, you're kind of redefining who you are. And then there's also, I have them walk a labyrinth, which I'm big on labyrinths. So there's lots of skill sets and tools with guided meditations and all that. And the intention is at the end of doing the work, because I am definitely a workhorse. You got to do the work. There is no magic pill. There is no new age guru, self-help coach that is going to magically get you to have a good life. It all is all about you doing the inner work so that your life improves and gets better. And I am an example of that. My life is so amazing. Not that I don't have my PTSD crap, but my life is so amazing. And if you had told me this is the life I would be living, I probably would have smacked you, because it's not, I couldn't see it, I couldn't, but it's because I just cleaned out, you have to clean out your closets, clean out your mental and emotional closets a lot so that you don't all of a sudden walk inside yourself and see walls dripping with shame. It's just, that's not who we are. That's not why we're here. We're here to be light. We're here to be love. And I don't mean light, haha. I mean like spiritual light. And right now it's vital that we focus on the light within us and allow ourselves to be a conduit for spirit so that light can shine more and more. And the more, not so you attract another narcissist, you do have to pay attention to that, but the more we shine our light, that gives people that are disenfranchised, homeless, refugees, that gives them hope that there's still masses of people that are still bringing light down to the planet and moving it through to others. In fact, when the lockdown happened with the pandemic, I was meditating, and I had just done a series of guided meditations to help people get through the beginning part of the pandemic, not knowing what was going to happen. And so I was meditating, okay, what's mine to do now? And I heard very clearly to activate the light. Now, come on, people, activate the light. That sounds like, it just sounded, okay, I really? And then I heard activate light leaders. And I was like, okay, I'm in. I'm all in. I am a spiritual leader. I am a spiritual teacher. I get it. I'm all in. And so that was in 2020. So I've been teaching. I created a couple of Are You a Light Leader workshops, and they're deep. It's a 5-day in a row workshop, and you go deep. It's an hour, just 1 hour, 5 days in a row, where you dig deep, you uncover, you face your fears, you remove it, you heal it, you get energy training. And at the end, you can begin to see that you are a light leader. So there's a lot of people, we say that we're light bringers or light workers, but there is an elevation when you commit to being a light leader, because that is what is going to be needed. It's needed now in order for when as the dust settles from all the chaos, it's not going to be the same leadership in any country globally. It just can't be, because look at that leadership is destroying the world, literally. So to be a light leader means you're leading from your inner wisdom. You're leading from your source energy. You are aligning daily with a high frequency of love. And then you bring that light out into the world. And as we move into collective councils, maybe, or leadership in organizations, or businesses, leading from the leadership I see is a circular leadership. It's not a top down. That's done. That's done. We're in the final. I really hope we're in the final throes of that top down stuff. Patriarchy. But the divine feminine works on a circle. And so when you envision councils or organizations bringing together people in their departments, right, to have a say, how you're going to do it, and you're going to produce X and so amount of money for me. Everybody gets to have a say on how, and that activates individuals' creative spark. And we're all creative. That's how the divine flows through us, is through our creativity, our imagination. So when everybody gets to have a say, then the person that is leading the group, the light leader, begins to see other avenues of how things can be done cooperatively, collectively, so that everybody is working toward the greater good. Everybody's working toward a higher good, not just for all, a higher good for all, not just the person that owns the company and the gazillion billionaires. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So, so my book, Live an Empowered Life, a 30-day journey, is a good way to begin to see how you can heal yourself. There's multiple tools, and I have people tell me they go back to the meditations often. And I've created so many more guided meditations that I decided, because things have been so divisive in my country, America. I decided 3 months ago, that I'll send out one of my guided meditations to my newsletter feed, so that people can just go, they'll see it once a week and go, oh, okay, I'm just going to do this 10-minute or 5-minute meditation, and they can feel better. They can access themselves and ground themselves and all that stuff. So,
that's like a great resource.
It's a great resource. And like I said earlier, I only teach what I've experienced. And I know for me, dropping into a meditation within myself and listening, which is what creates these guided meditations that I do, that has just elevated my awareness and my consciousness, and it's opened up my life so it can be brilliant and free and opulent. I mean, richness of love, of family, of beauty, of everything. That doesn't mean I have a bazillion in my bank account, but I have a really, really opulent life.
Well, at the end of the day, that you can't take that with you. You take yourself with you, and that's it.
That's true. And when I've learned, when we cross over, there is a time in the Bardos where there's going to be, a life assessment that you get to watch your life and how it played out, and where you harmed someone else, or did something bad, and how they felt, because then you get to feel how they felt when you did that action or said that thing or whatever. That's part of it. So I just decided, man, I want to be more love, because that little experience right there in the Bardos, I want to just get through that. Being empathic, I feel all that stuff anyway. So, but people that aren't aware, that's part of what they're going to get to experience, so they can reassess and recalibrate and hopefully make a different choice when they come back.
Yeah. Well, life, we have twists and turns, and like you say, we've always got choice at any given moment. You don't have to stay, even if you made a commitment on the other side to say, I'll be with this person. You don't have to stay. It
No, you
could be
don't.
for the lesson. It doesn't have to be for the lifetime.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's not for the lifetime. And I do have clients that they're in that kind of a relationship for 30, 40 years. And I'm like, oh my God, that's just, because of the I'm hearing the ancient idea, of when you get married, you stay together forever, because that's who's providing for you, as the woman, right? That's who's providing for you. But that's archaic. That's why we're seeing multiple people get divorced and they get married again. And maybe they get divorced and they get married again. Well, hopefully you're learning a lesson if you're getting married again and again and again. But it's not the idea that you stay together forever it's ancestral. It has nothing to do with modern world. And because we're learning at a much more rapid spiritual, we're in the accelerated course of life on earth, learning, our soul is just like expanding, growing, expanding, growing, expanding, growing. So, if you're in a relationship where you're unhappy, don't stay. Just don't stay. Because there's so much more to life. You just have to free yourself from where you are and that unhappiness, so that you can progress and feel better.
I think women are more likely to try everything. Do the
Yes.
talking, try the counseling, read the books, watch the YouTube videos, give him another chance until they say enough. And I did that until they say no more. And that's when the guy realizes, oh, she's serious this time. What can I do to change it? And then it's too late. So,
Well,
okay. We were speaking about divorce for quite a long time.
Yeah. Well, the idea, can I tap on that one other thing?
Absolutely.
Of,
Absolutely.
When what happens is when the narcissist, when I said, that's it, I'm done, he was a little shocked, it was coming for a couple of years. And I said, that is it. And then he tried to make nice again, tried to get me back. And, why don't we go on Weight Watchers together? So when we finish the divorce, we'll both look really good. I was like, get out of the house. I'm not cooking for you, because it would be me cooking for him to look good. Anyway, but then what happened is, then what they do is they then move into the annihilation part of being a narcissist, and they will try and annihilate you. It's not a fun experience. Is there soul growth? I'll let you know at the end of my life if there was soul growth, but this annihilation thing is horrific. And that, I think, is also why women stay in unhealthy relationships longer than they should, because they're more afraid, not about not having money to survive, but that he's just going to ground me into the earth. He's just going to annihilate me. So,
the irony is that you have way more power than they do.
yes.
And they don't realize it. Because ultimately, if you're the one keeping the relationship together, if the relationship's thriving on your energy, your work, your love, your ability to work, because most of the time they don't work.
Oh my God.
You know,
Were we married to the same person? Because
yes, I
yeah.
told you, they went to the same school.
Oh my God. Yes. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, and often women say to me as well, they say, I don't want to work harder at myself or whatever. And I say, you don't have to work harder. You need to actually stop working so hard. You actually need to stop giving so much. If you want to give it to yourself. You're
Mhm.
going to do less, but be more fulfilled.
Yes.
Yes, you have to do the work, but not to somebody else to try and convince them of your love and how
Yes.
good you are and
Yeah.
how honest you are.
Well, and the thing is that when you come out of a relationship like that, you're so exhausted that doing that inner work, it seems daunting because you're just so tired.
But that's the thing that I think if a person finally manages to leave, then they know that they wanted a better life and they're willing to do whatever it takes to do it.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Because what is the other option?
Looked at that, did look at that for a little bit and then went, nope, because I have a son.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the sad thing because they do. I see them as, like you say, they feed off your energy. They're parasitic. So without you, they don't have lifeblood. They don't have energy. So they cannot survive. They need to live off other people. And so they will keep finding other people. So without you, they can't survive. And you've been led to think that you're living off their energy. But having said that, I know that there is always a duality that we've denied in ourselves. So there's a part of us that we see in them that we are not looking at. And I see it often so many times that I think they're wearing a mask. That's what we talk about narcissists having a mask. But how often do empaths have a mask? Oh,
Yeah.
I'm happy. I don't mind. I don't mind doing that at all.
Well, and it's also like we think it's protection too,
Yeah.
our mask as an empath,
So
if you're
it's a
wearing one.
mask. You're smiling instead of pretending to be happy. You're also pretending to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
We just don't get angry and abusive after the fact. We just turn that in on ourselves. So yes, there's everything that a person can say about a narcissist is in ourselves. We just need to find it. And as soon as we find it, we're able to find the forgiveness. That's what I found for myself
Oh,
anyway.
that's brilliant, Natasha. Yes, that's brilliant. Pisses me off, but it's brilliant. Yes.
It's true, right? Because we are everything. I really like Dr. DeMartini. I don't know if you read any of his books or heard
Uh-uh.
Dr. John DeMartini. Okay, so you can watch him. He's amazing. But he says he went through the dictionary and he found every single emotion, every word for an emotional state that a human being could have. And I don't know how many there were, maybe 200 or something. He said he's felt all of them. There is no single emotion that nobody has felt. There's no emotion that nobody has acted out of spite or revenge or no
Yeah.
matter how big or small. We've all done it. We've all been good. We've all been bad. We've all been happy. We've all been sad and mad and glad and all these things.
Yeah. That's true.
So, yeah, it's just that when we refuse to speak out and say, yes, we had that thought, and what he also said was, I'll just mention, so I know I'm interviewing you, but I just wanted to share it because I think it's so great. If in a society has a thought. I mean, we've all had that thought. Oh, I just wish he would die. I would even joke with my husband and say, "No, so this is the plate with the arsenic. You must eat this one." It was a joke, but not really.
Right.
Because you wish it, but you would never do it. Now, what happens is if, as a collective, suppresses that thought of "I wish them dead," but doesn't act it out, somebody somewhere else will have that thought and become a serial killer.
Oh my goodness.
It will pop up, makes sense, because energy doesn't go away. So the
Right.
serial killer will pick up on it and they will kill the person. And they've said it. Serial killers have said it. I did this for you. And we say, oh, no, you're bad. How could you do that? We would never do that.
Right.
And he
Wow.
says, I did you a favor. And so instead of putting the serial killer in jail, start changing your inner thoughts, because they would have nowhere to have to go then. Because
Mm-hmm.
you're not creating this mass consciousness that's got to have an outlet somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. That's an amazing. I'm going to think on that too, because that's amazing. So what we would do, what you do is you recognize you're having that thought. I mean,
Absolutely.
I have,
Yeah,
we just went through it in America, having those thoughts. We're
that's
still
it.
kind of having those thoughts, but you have to recognize you're having the thought. So you have to face the thing that you're afraid of. Oh my God, I'm having this terrible thought. And then you can transmute it, you can change it. But to ignore it or resist it
Or
multiplies
push
it.
it down is
Yeah,
going to make it come out somewhere.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and if you look at it globally, in America, they've got a war, well, in the old days with Russia, so they put these people as being bad, and then Russia will act out like a delinquent child, or, you know what I mean? It's just like,
yeah.
because we are all connected, as you said right in the beginning, we are all one.
Yep. And that energy absolutely it flows anyway. So are you going to contribute to the greater good by holding high frequency thoughts and love, or are you going to contribute to the destruction that we're seeing right now?
And so that applies to everything. So it applies to money, it applies to rape,
Mm-hmm.
it applies to, you name it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Isn't that fascinating? I find that fascinating
Yeah.
because we are all energy and we're all connected. It's actually one of my pillars, to know that this is the way it works.
Yeah.
So when I'm in resistance, which happens sometimes more than not, but when I'm in resistance, it's like, okay, you got to face it and
Yeah.
transmute it, because I don't want to be the contributor to it.
Yeah. So the resistance would be, where in me am I
Mm-hmm.
denying that thing that I see outside of myself? Where
Mm-hmm.
have I done that thing myself? And as
Mm-hmm.
soon as you do that, it's gone. And I think that's quite empowering for a lot of women too, if they're all, and men that are in a narcissistic relationship, where they can say, instead of me blaming them for hurting me, where
Mm-hmm.
in me am I hurting me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And actually, you guys, when you're able to do this, it, like you said, Natasha, it goes away. It I find it's the lead up to face the thing that is traumatizing again or upsetting, or but once I sit down and have a good cry about it as I'm facing it, and a box of Kleenex later, I notice it's gone, because it's also emotions. There's When you're in a traumatic relationship, your emotions that naturally come up, it's important to feel them, we suppress, because you're not allowed to have those emotions. So feeling them, even if it's a dark thought, go feeling it. You don't have to do any action, but just to face it, you can see that it'll go away. It's
Yeah.
it's it's a
Yeah.
good practice, actually.
Yeah. Susan, where can people get hold of you?
The best way, the only way really, is through my website, which is Susan Burrell, BURRELL.com. And you can find my book. You can listen to my podcasts, Empowering Chats with Susan Burrell. You can access my meditations that are housed on the Insight Timer app. But if you go through my website, it'll take you right to my stash of meditations. And so you don't have to hunt and peck unless you want to, and look at other teachers that are on that app. It's a good resource. That's a really good
Yeah.
resource, Insight Timer.
Yeah, it is. There's quite a few people that I've spoken to that are on me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll put all your links below. And do you have a message for our audience before we go? Just a final parting message.
Yeah. Um, so life is a journey. That's just the way it's been constructed for us. And it's a journey for our soul to grow and evolve. And the sooner you go with the flow and grow, while it might be painful, it's for the betterment of not only your life, but humanity's.
Thank you. Yeah. We don't avoid things by avoiding them. We avoid them by meeting them head on.
Yes, I love that. That's a great quote.
That'll be the new one.
That'll be your new quote, Natasha. Yeah.
Thank you. Susan, thank you so much for sharing. It was great chatting with you.
Thank you. Lovely to be here with you too.